Mare. Art by Kelly Isaaks. Story by Robin Rivers. Mare Nochescu. The name stared me down, calling me a liar. Bold, black letters printed on a manila packet, left on the front hall chair. The horsehead family crest was embossed next to a name I barely recognized. I set my suitcase down. My legs burned thanks to an hour sardined into an old Peugeot 105. 60 minutes in the back of a tin can to face Mare Nochescu. Perfect. I stared at the woman in the foyer. Gaunt, gray, high forehead, and an unenviable widow's peak. Time had worn her into something even more severe. I haven't considered my mother's ex-wife might come. I tossed the mislabeled packet at her feet. You, of all people, know it's Mimi now. She bent to pick it up. A terse grin stretched across her thin face. It's hard for me, too, to be back here. Right, Sasha. I went to shed the layers that kept me from frostbite in the December cold. Don't bother, she waved me off. She's in the garden. The garden. Vine-encrusted, barren from the frost, and walled off from the green-shuttered, white-wood houses in town. The tang of mud and roots. The horses whinnied from the stables just beyond. 3 days, I told myself. Just get it done and go home. It was hard to find you. Sasha moved down the path. A woman I couldn't place walked towards us from the old solarium. Wasn't that the point? I hated that they'd gotten there first. When you two packed me up and shipped me out in what? 1983? Can we not do this right now? What are you even doing here? I gestured to the approaching woman. Tall, eyes a striking emerald, like my mother's, with a mane of gray-speckled auburn hair. With your new wife. Sasha snorted and took my arm. You need to understand. I slapped her away. Suddenly, the horses appeared at the fence line. She's here. She's here. I heard them. The green-eyed woman pressed a key into my palm. The horses drove their eyes into us like nails. She's past the gate. I heard them. I unlocked the crypt. My eyes landed on a single orchid pushing up from the snow outside the tomb. Outlier, I thought, blooming when nothing else does. I felt a kinship. She's inside. What if she... I heard Sasha whisper. You know Mira's got to do this, the other woman's voice cut through. They were right. I had to face her. I began to shake. The key rattled as it fell to the floor. I had come back to deal with all that we'd left undone. I clawed at my throat, first choking, then a snort. As soon as I did, the air returned, as if siphoned back into me. I stepped closer, expecting a scolding. Nothing. I lingered over the silence. The silence. My mother, the source of all my nightmares, lay in the tomb. Dead. I breathed easy for the first time in years. Nearly 48 hours into it all, and I hadn't slept. I slid out from under the blankets. My stomach growled. My feet traced a familiar path down the hall. She's unchanged. I overheard Sasha behind her bedroom door. Typical. What a bitch. In the kitchen, someone had lit a fire in the wood stove. Perfectly cozy. Thick stone walls, warm in winter, cool in summer. Except for one wooden wall with horse heads. My mother and her beasts. She'd hired women in Cluj to paint that wallpaper a year before they sent me away. Reaching out, I pressed my hand against those painted horses. Green-eyed beasties, orchids, binding them together. The orchids from the old solarium. My head filled with memories. Family stories. Love. Lullabies. None of them mine. My mouth watered. A memory burst through. Sasha and Mother. That wall. A violent fight. The next day, I was gone. I pulled my hand back. One more day, I whispered. Some paperwork, the reading of the will. Back to New York. Suddenly, I could hear the horses wailing. She's here. She's here. I slid into my boots and coat, stepped outside and walked to the garden gate. They stood there, as if waiting for me at the fence line, with those radiant, green eyes. I flung myself out of a dream. I wanted it to be a nightmare. but I hadn't slept, not in nearly a week. "Mira!" Sasha ran towards me. "Oh, hell!" I breathed in. Bloody flannels. Fingernails split. Bits of wallpaper lingered in the air as if falling through water. The wallpaper. I'd stripped it back to the studs. My mother's wallpaper. I stood in the kitchen, staring at a hole in the wall, a palm-sized book in my hand. My mother's handwriting filled every page. Botanical sketches, odd sigils. Sasha's wife took the book from me. "I told you she'd find it." "What is it?" I couldn't focus. The woman's eyes darkened. The key to everyone around here getting some sleep. An hour later, I stood, wide awake, over Sasha and her wife, watching them breathe under my mother's old quilts. The book lay between them, a thick horsehair braid strapped around it. Evil bitches. I snatched the book. They slept like the dead. "Why have you stayed away so long?" Auntie Deboo pulled me in tight. Was she serious? I once told her about my mother's rages, how she locked herself away, especially that last year. "Never happened," Deboo assured me. Not that I was lying, just that it never happened. And then Mother left me at the train station. I was 12. So I stayed away, but I was already more than a week past my self-imposed 3-day maximum, and I needed answers. I'd gone to Deboo's with intent. The truth. Then leave. Suddenly, an open door sent a cold burst of air through the kitchen. The wind brought a whiff of cinnamon and walnuts. "Krina! You're late!" Deboo relieved the woman in the doorway of a tiny babka. It was old Green Eyes without Sasha in tow. "Now, I'll leave you two." I wanted to rage at Krina, but an odd familiarity silenced it. "You know my auntie?" She passed me some babka. I used to work for her. "Family baker?" "There are things you need to know." She pinned up her mane of hair as I passed my mother's book across the table. And, with a voice like a whinny, Krina drew me in. Stories. Legends of horses wailing in the woods. Mother's terrors. How Deboo sang her to sleep to keep the nightmares at bay. The neighbor woman caring for her in those last days. My mother's obsession with that book. How it claimed her in the end. Not the monster I thought I knew, but dreams stitched together, like the horses and orchids on the kitchen wall. Memories, demons, heartache, love. By my third plate of babka, I wanted to devour all of them, no longer simply hungry, but ravenous. Since Krina's stories, my senses peaked. In the library, I pored through my mother's writings, wrapped up in my blanket woven by old women on village looms, embroidered with the old symbols. I could smell them. Babka and cold cabbage rice made by old hands on village stoves. I could taste them. Not the food, not the blankets. Hands. Skin. People. Night after night, never sleeping. Mouth watering, starving, exhausted. I knew Krina watched me, waiting for something. The book had to hold the answers. The notations, clear and neat in the beginning, had grown ineligible, desperate, panicked. I turned to the last page. Nothing but scribbles. I tore at the book, furious, enraged at still knowing nothing after so long. My fingers scraped over an irregularity in the book's binding. Something was hidden behind one of the end papers. I peeled it back to find a dried orchid. I'd seen these before, the single orchid outside Mother's crypt. I charged out to the garden, searching, out of my mind, eyes glued open in grief, when Krina approached. "I'm so tired," I muttered. "No, it's the hunger." I knew she didn't mean food. I pulled my mother's book from my coat pocket. The dried specimen slid out into my hand. The horses in the stables went wild. Neotia nidus axis. Of course. Krina picked the single orchid and helped me toward the old solarium. Inside, I noticed the old neighbor woman who'd cared for my mother, asleep under quilts on an old couch. A cold ache filled my chest as Krina handed the flower to me. "What does this do?" Silent, Krina left. 2 orchids, one fresh, one long dead. I breathed in, my hair wrapped around the night. I saw my reflection, emerald green eyes, hands to hooves, mouth to nourish, mouth to feed, just a sip, then a siphon. A sleeping someone to save me, like the orchid, a symbiosis. Dreams, a woman's dreams, of family stories I'd never heard. Love, lullabies in a language I hardly remembered. I devoured them all. The woman on the couch let out a piercing scream. I pushed her body onto the floor. The horses went silent. Then sleep.